जयधारी माँ। हर जीवन अनेक प्रकार के रंगों से भरा हुआ है। बातचीत वही रंग बांटेगी आप सबके साथ। हम सब एक हैं, बस सोच अलग अलग है। बटोर लीजिए उन रंगों को जो भी आप चाहें इस बातचीत से, और ढाल लीजिए अपनी सोच में। यही मकसद है इस बातचीत का। आइए मिलते हैं अपने प्यारे से मेहमान से। अतिथि देवो भव।
जयधारी
हमारी ऑडियंसेस का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आप सबको। जयधारी माँ। आज के जो हमारे अतिथि हैं शेफ रणवीर बरार। द यूनिवर्स loves a committed heart. He has a committed heart. He shares a very sacred bond with food. And उनका जो हुनर है, उनका जो एक्सप्रेशन और क्रिएटिविटी है, वो उनके लिए एक इबादत है। He has a relationship with food. उनका एक रिश्ता है अपने क्राफ्ट के साथ, अपने गिफ्ट के साथ, अपने टैलेंट के साथ, और वो उसको दिल खोल के बांटते हैं और वो खुशियाँ बांटते हैं। और जो आप कंटेंट देखते हैं, जो वो क्रिएट करते हैं, एक्चुअली इज अ पार्ट ऑफ हिज जर्नी। वो उनकी उस सेक्रेडनेस, उस सेक्रेड बॉन्ड का हिस्सा है, तभी वो हमारे दिल को इतना छूती है। बहुत कुछ है पूछने को। आइए पहले उन पे एक वीडियो देखते हैं और फिर उनसे बातचीत करते हैं। आइए।
How lovely. How lovely.
Thank you. मजा तो मेरे को आया जी to be here. It's just an honor here, and all those pictures. It's funny sometimes you do stuff and you forget about it, and these introductions can be very awkward, right? कि अच्छा हो ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਵਾਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖੜੇ ਹੋ ਖਤਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ. But this was interesting because it sort of, those memories came back, different restaurants, the images sort of helped. But thank you very much for such a warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a balle balle. For us, it's a balle balle. Full credit to this team. They looked for you, they identified you, searched you out, and got you.
It's
My
a lot
pleasure.
of joy having you with us.
Thank you, Simon.
जी, अच्छा शुरू करते हैं.
जी.
आपका एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट मैसेज फॉर आवर यूथ इज जिद तो कर ली, लेकिन जिद वो बहुत जिम्मेवारी से निभाना, एक जुनून को बहुत जिम्मेवारी से मुकाम पर पहुंचाना.
That's right.
That's your message, and this is blessed. This is blessed. People joining us in our journey is absolutely blessed. But you are who you are. And even in your simple life, when nobody is watching, you are a person. So how important is it to be real? Love what you do. And जिद to जिम्मेवारी का सफर.
मैं हूँ अगेन. मैं पहले तो कान पकड़ के माफी मांगता हूँ. I'm sitting here in front of somebody who's given all of us life lessons, and I'm going to share my life lessons, but allow me to do that if there's something in it for somebody. तो मैं इस बात को मानता हूँ कि दो चीजें, जैसे आपने जिद बोला, मैंने कहा दो चीजें बड़ी जरूरी है लाइफ में. एक जिद, एक बेशर्मी. You need to be shameless and stubborn in life to be able to sort of get somewhere. And with besharmi comes unreasonability. Not to be held back by reason. Oh, besharmi de naal hi honda na. You have to be completely shameless to be not held back by reason and say I'm going to do it like this. And with zid comes zimmedari, because वो आपने हट तो मनवा लिया, अब निभाने की जिम्मेदारी तो आपकी होगी ना. And I think that they come on with either side. So when I do these talks, while everybody gets excited about zid and besharmi, such powerful words, I always remind them that zid ka the other side of the coin is zimmedari, and besharmi ka the other side of the coin is unreasonability. आपको दोनों निभाने हैं, मजा तो तभी है. I think that sort of to add to what you're saying, that for me is the other side of zid and besharmi. As far as messages to the youth go, all I can sort of do is share what I have gone through and what I have learned, and that's typically what I do. I got married to food at a very early age. The marriage is still going on. I treat food like an ever-changing, ever-evolving, living thing. When it changes around me, I change as well. And कहते हैं ना कि change is the only constant. We've been able to build a relationship where I allow it to change, it allows me to change, and the audience that is watching us both change, allows us both to change. So there's never any pressure of being somebody. The first thing that the audience has learned to accept is that he's human, he will change, he will have good days, he will have bad days. Yesterday, tomorrow his philosophy might change, yesterday his philosophy would have been completely different. I think being real का जो सबसे बड़ा advantage है वो ये है कि लोग accept कर लेते हैं कि आप they give you the इजाजत to change, which doesn't mean that you have to keep the same look and makeup post you always have to look 25. As you're growing older, people accept the fact that you're growing older, and I think that is the biggest reason to be real. The biggest reason to be real is so that the audience allows you to just change, and that is the joy of being on the same medium for a really long time. Otherwise, it can be stifling. It can be frustrating. If you're playing a part, it can be really frustrating.
Do you see the you? I know 1 minute since we are on change. Um, Repeat. Do you change or change changes you? What happens? Does change come to you or you go to the change?
With me, it is the first one. I go to the change more often. By nature, I'm the sort of a guy who just can't stand still at one place for a long time. Sometimes it works to my advantage, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't wait for change to come to me. Um, I go to change and I say, "Bahut ho gaya." It's the same thing over and over again. Um, you know, because over years I have learned to believe that if it's not changing, something's wrong.
Wonderful.
So that antsiness that sets in, think, yeah, सब कुछ ठीक ही चल रहा है.
So do you get bored? Do you get bored with what you do? Is that the
Absolutely.
reason? You get bored with what you do?
Absolutely. I get bored with doing the same thing over and over again because I
Hmm.
believe that that's not the basic um, the basic law of nature is to do it better the next time or do it different the next time. And I think that whether it is cooking, if I'm cooking the same dish 20 times, there is, I want to make the 20th time has to be better than the first time. Or whether it is life. I believe we are not meant to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's not what nature intended for us.
You keep in reinventing. That basically means you keep reinventing. Do you reinvent by instinct or do you reinvent by a plan or a vision or a dream? How? You reinvent
Reinvention.
all the time, as you
I
said.
think reinvention is an output. Probably the world looks at it like reinventing. For me, it is basically uh, trying to understand what I'm feeling and act to that feeling. And probably the output is reinvention. Um, but most of it is inwards. Most of it is inwards. It is not to a certain. I think all of us have an inwards journey that we need to recognize as soon as we do. And if any time we sort of need to realign to what that journey was, it has to happen from inside and not because there's a certain demand or there's a certain external. That's what I feel. I feel that there's a song which is sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. The race is long, but in the end, it's only with yourself. So I believe
I
that
believe this.
it's just easier to listen to yourself and keep doing what you think is right.
So when you're at your moments of listening to yourself, do you keep aside moments to listen for yourself? Do you put aside time? Is it during a prayer? Is it a walk? Is it a meditation? Or is it a sleep? Is it a dream? How do you sense the inner calling?
It's usually awareness around. So, for example, when I'm around food, I'm the most aware, right? Because food is it's basically a play of senses. You've gotta have every sense involved. You're the most. I am the most present when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
So, those are the times when you actually realize. But the churning happens. Svere svere, gurdware jai raha hai, पाठ से बैठी रहे. That's when the churning happens. The awareness happens when you're. अच्छा यार, there's these things that keep ticking because now you're extremely present when you're cooking. But the action plan sort of forms. Yeah, the action plan is more spiritual.
Beautiful. I have got my answer, Saina. You now all yours.
अपने चेंज की बात करें, आई थिंक एवरी डे वी आर प्रेजेंटेड विद अ लॉट ऑफ हर दिन एक नई रियलिटी लेकर आते हैं, एंड आई थिंक वी आर कॉन्स्टेंटली also checked whether we are evolving या वही खड़े हैं, या हम पीछे जा रहे हैं. So the goal is to evolve, and if change is in the right direction, meet कर रहे हैं, even if it's very subtle, it's internal. How do you feel when you're in front of fire? Agni Ma, because food is all about 5 elements. What a sacred responsibility it is for someone who's cooking. And it's Ma Agni that gives us the energy. ये एक मैसेज कि कोई भी किचन में जाए, गैस ऑन करे, मत्था वो अगर मत्था टेक के मन में वो पकाए, it also makes us realize we are nothing, it's all them. हम तो जरिया हैं, और हमको वो जरिया होने को बहुत बेखूबी से निभाना है जो आप निभा रहे. So share your thoughts about the elements.
I think to sort of start from the start, there are only 2 options. या तो आप आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, आप पीछे जा रहे हैं. आप खड़े भी हैं तो भी आप पीछे जा रहे हैं. So there is in today's world to say that you're going to hold your place is not an option. Either you're moving ahead or you're moving. I think that is what I sort of understood, and you need to be aware of that, because otherwise stagnation sets in, and it's a sickness. To answer your question about the sacredness of cooking, ये चीज this I understood a while ago. Yeah, this medium is very, very different. I used to write poetry ever since I was 12. I used to paint. I used to sculpt. The expression, it was important for me. But suddenly when I cooked, over the years I realized it's very special. Because it's not that somebody is just consuming you from their eyes or their ears like music or a mixture of both. This is the reality of all senses. You're being consumed in reality completely by somebody, your expression. There is taste, there's touch, there's sight, there's sound, there's smell, everything. And when your work is becoming a part of somebody and not just memory. I mean, songs are a part of us, musics are a part of us, some great performances are a part of us. But this is genuinely, genetically becoming a part of somebody. And it's such a powerful place to be. ये चीज ना मुझे fortunately बहुत जल्दी समझ में आ गई थी, because I grew up with my grandfather who used to speak such language. And with that, then you realize that if something is that powerful, then basically, then you realize that you can't be the also powerful, which essentially means you're just a conduit. तो तभी समझ में आया था आपको कि जब आपका मीडियम आपसे ज्यादा पावरफुल हो और कहीं ज्यादा पावरफुल हो, तो आपको ऑटोमेटिकली समझ में आता है आप सिर्फ एक कॉन्ड्यूट हो, उस एक वेसल हो यहाँ से वहां पहुंचाने. और एज अ कॉन्ड्यूट आप अगर वही काम रिस्पेक्टफुली सारी जिंदगी खुशी खुशी हंसते हंसते कर लेते हो, तो दैट वाज योर रोल that you were sort of meant to execute. And I think that's the beauty of the food. I always say that cooking it's very simple. It's basically the reaction of fire to an ingredient or a reaction of an ingredient with an ingredient. Basically cooking तो वही है. आज से 1.5 लाख साल पहले किसी आग के ऊपर कोई मीट का पीस गिरा and people realized wow. And after that nothing has changed. भी पहले पत्थर आ गया बीच में, फिर क्ले आ गया, फिर कॉपर आ गया, ब्रास आ गई, अब स्टील आ गया है. The medium that has come between the food and the fire has changed. The basic process of cooking for the last 150,000 years is the reaction of fire to food. What makes it so special is the emotion that we imbibe in it. What makes it so special and so different? Otherwise, so hai, and I think that when you realize that, and you realize how powerful a medium you're working with and how blessed you are, then you also realize कि आप actually कुछ नहीं है, लेकिन कितनी powerful position में आप, and that's basically, that's how I look at food. I look at myself as a conduit. Everybody who cooks food is a conduit. Whether you're transferring the word rasoi comes from rasvati. So every finger they say is a rasa. तो रसों का घर मतलब रसवती यानी कि रसोई. तो आप सिर्फ रस डाल रहे हैं, यहाँ के रस आपकी उंगलियों से खाने में जा रहे हैं, और कोई अपनी उंगलियों से It's becoming a part of them. So once you realize that, then you realize you're just a conduit, and it's such a beautiful and a powerful place to be in, because you क्या कहते हैं रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सी आप रियलाइज भी करते हो, बट आप ऑल्सो पावरफुल बनने का जो एक ऑल्सो पावरफुल बनने का जो लोड है वो आपके दिमाग से हट जाता है. You know that this is your job and you're going to do it diligently, and you're going to evolve while you're doing this.
This is what is called काम में रस. Your heart and emotion. That's why mother's food tastes very special. Why? Why does mother's food or your grandmother's food, your dadi nani's food taste differently special? Why, Ranveer?
It's the same thing. But food is basically an expression of emotion.
Yes.
And as much as we say, we can do this 100 times. We can give people same measures and same bartan, same ingredients. 10 log la do, una chaak ek jo nahi ban. 10 people, a simple thing like tea, 10 people can't make it the same. You give people dal boiled and you say, tadka maar do, to ye ingredients. It's never going to be the same. It is because I am putting myself in it. And what am I? I am basically a state of mind.
That's wonderful.
So food is a reflection of a state of mind. There's something which is very powerful in the Vedas, and never cook. Never cook if you're angry. Never cook when you're angry. And it is the same thing, because you don't want anger being transferred to food. The source of energy has to be positive and positive always.
Fantastic. Where did you get this information from? Where did you imbibe this understanding from?
हम 45 साल दे हो गए हुन की कर सारी जिंदगी कितना ही है.
Is this where your grandfather took you to the langar as a 4-year-old boy?
Yeah, I think there is a certain I think what spirituality does to you is it always sort of makes you aware that there's always an intangible. There's always an intangible. There's always something more at play. And if you have the quest for that intangible, you sort of, you at least that's what it has been with me. And cooking is not, I started off at 20-year-old thinking cooking is science. By the time you're 30, you realize, no, yaar, it can't be science. It is art. By the time you're 35, you say, no, yaar, it's not just art also. It's a lot more than that. By the time you're 45, you just realize that cooking is basically the reason for the world's existence.
Wow.
It is basically what is running the world, and it's beyond art, science. It's basically your chance to express yourself. That's essentially what.
Beautiful.
आपने बात करी, आपकी PG has blessed you with बरकत. Which is blessed you with बरकत. एक और बात मन में आई, during the COVID times, we saw how our food from our kitchen is a living force. ये 2 साल में हमारे मसालों के डब्बे बाहर निकले, काली मिर्च, दालचीनी, अदरक, हल्दी. What's happened? Why is it not a normal way of life for each home to be cooking for each other? कितनी काली मिर्ची, कितनी अदरक, कितनी दालचीनी, मोटी इलायची, हरी इलायची, पूरे मसाले के डब्बे हमारे निकले. हल्दी का दूध, काढ़ा, दाल चावल, रोटी, वो सब बाहर आया. And actually that healed. And we were all saying a prayer before having it. तो ये तो नॉर्मल है कि हमको पहले शुक्र करके खाना है. वो भूल गए, वो याद आया. किचन में सब कुछ माँ ने हमें दिया है, कुदरत ने हमको दिया है, हम भूले बैठे हैं. So you feel our kitchen is in that sense our sacred space. It can cure and heal.
Bilkul. I think for a lot of us, the last 2 years have made us realize both the limitations of medicine and the benefits of medicine. And I think when you realize that this whole in the first 2 years, everybody felt that this entire medicine is going to save us. Fact that we were banking on isn't true, and what really will save us is what we consume on an everyday basis. I think that for this generation and for every generation that has spent these 2 years, that is a learning we might deny, but we'll keep for the rest of our life. That what we consume on an everyday basis, and is what really heals us. Medicine is basically a second resort. I think that has come for sure. Also, why don't we cook as much as we used to? I think, like, needless to say, obviously it is the changing of the social fabric, the importance of eating together, and I think that also has come back in COVID times, and that's, I think, कुछ चीजें हैं जो मैं एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, बट कुछ चीजें हैं जो वापस नॉर्मल हो जाएंगी, कुछ चीजें हैं जो हमारे साथ रहेंगी, हमारा खाने के साथ for everybody. What we have realized about food and what we have seen of ourselves in the food is going to stay. It is going to stay because it is not superficial. It's something that's way more rooted, that's way more real. And I think our relationship with food that we have established are going to stay. वो कट्ठे बैग के खान वाला जो स्पेस है वो जाएगा नहीं कहीं, because the benefits are far greater.
That's why we pray, Ranveer. Anna, can I ask a question? Ranveer,
Yes.
that's why adding power of the prayer before you start your food. What's the significance? What's the relationship? Just as you said, emotion of the mother into food, similarly, power of prayer before you take the food. Ranveer, what's the relationship?
Across the world, if you were to see all prayers, right from the Rig Veda to every religion, the emotion है उस prayer का वो है शुक्राना. That is gratitude, right?
Right.
And thanks for this bread, and thanks, may it serve its purpose when we want to when we consume it. And I think that is for me, gratitude is the most positive emotion that one can generate. And to put right from Ganadheji onwards, I don't want to go too far, but gratitude is the positivest of all emotions. Puts you in a headspace to actually accept. You can't accept ungratefulness, acceptance, right? And I think all prayers, pre-meal prayers, are essentially to invoke the sense of gratitude. So we become ready to accept, and our body becomes ready to accept the benefits of it. And I think, again, it's a state of mind conversation. But for me, the underlying conversation is gratitude.
Fantastic.
आप कई बार ये बोलते हैं, वो जो आपके इंस्टा पे है, रणवीर आपने बताया नहीं. अब जब मैं उसको देख रही थी, I was realizing that actually you're trying to tell everybody that छोटी-छोटी चीजें make it or break it. It's to be aware, it's to be awake, it's to be sensitive to what you're doing. So there are certain very, very important lessons coming from food and from the kitchen. So actually, Ranveer, आपने बताया नहीं, is a very important, it's playing a very important role. It's serving a very important objective. Your thoughts?
आपका बड़प्पन, मैं तो वैसे बोलूंगा लखनऊ वालों की तरह, वो तो आपका बड़प्पन है. For me, it is just invoking a little bit of humor, because it's very important to laugh and sing when you're in the kitchen. But like you said, I think it is also, so initially when I used to do a lot of food television, people used to say, sometimes cooking becomes second nature for us as professional chefs. We don't even think twice. We just, ये हो गया, ये कर दिया, ये हो गया, ये कर दिया. And the audience finds it difficult to sort of catch up, So I had to stop myself, slow down, and say, Ranveer, stop. Say this. The smallest of things. Talk about it. Because it's second nature for you. Might not be second nature for the person who's watching it. And that's how this Ranveer aapne bataya nahi was born. Now everything I do, even if I'm cutting, I'm sort of thinking, I am cutting because subconsciously I've been cutting for 27 years. What do I need to tell? People don't say Ranveer bataya nahi aapne. I think that was the essence of it. But you're right. I think I always say cooking is a sum total of basics. There is no magic formula. When I see a lot of recipes on the internet which say giving you a magic formula for this, yeah, aapka jadui ingredient, yeah, wo. Cooking is not that. Cooking is a sum total of basics done right with the right intent. अच्छी नीयत के साथ, अच्छे इंग्रेडिएंट्स के साथ बेसिक्स फॉलो करके बना हुआ खाना अच्छा खाना है.
Fantastic.
आपको
मजा आ रहा है सुन के, बहुत मजा आ रहा है इसको सुन के, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. पहली बारी मैं सुन कुकिंग की इतनी वैल्यू, कि कुकिंग कितनी कीमती है. अरे कुकिंग की भावना है, इंग्रेडिएंट्स बाद में, इमोशन इन द फूड, द प्रेयर इन द फूड, द लव इन द फूड, द रस इन द फूड, more than the ingredients. I'm just thoroughly loving it. I think it's a great message to every mother, father, anybody who cooks. Why is the food being more tasty? Because the rus has gone in the food. Lovely. मजा आ रहा है.
नहीं, वो कहते हैं ना, पहला कहते हैं देसी के भाई जिदों पुराने टाइम में जब कमी होती थी तो and there's a lot of stories like this in Italy also in the Second World War time. साढ़े पास से भी साड़ी दादी दसदी है कि पुत्र ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਲੂਣ ਚ अपना पानी ਚ लूण मिर्च पा के दे दी थी, बढ़िया स्वाद आ जाता था. जिनके हाथों में बरकत होती है वो पानी में नमक मिर्च डाल के भी सूप बना लेते.
That's right.
तो वो I think that is also, that's a very very key ingredient. The intangible intention is a very key ingredient of what we do.
That is why the langar tastes so sweet. Langar tastes so delicious to anybody anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and you never taste it. While making, you don't taste it. Jidon tak ardas nahi hundi, nobody, you can't taste the langar. You're just
That's
making
right.
it blind, and it
Correct.
never fails.
Correct.
Never आज तक नहीं होया, मैथों भी कदे नहीं होया, मेरे सामने भी नहीं होया, मैथों नहीं होया कि कदे लूण घट गए, कदे लूण वध गया, कदे आ हो गया, कुछ नहीं. Every time you're cooking, because again, faith, like gratitude, is a very powerful emotion.
That's right.
You stand in that emotion and cook, कदे नहीं हुंदा.
Brilliant.
it's prasad and langar and bhandara में जो भोग लगता है, it's their grace that flows through
That's
the
really
prasad, and वो कितना मन को चैन देता है when we all sit together and eat. It's such bliss. जब a young budding chef comes to you, तो दाल तड़का बनाओ और जीरा आलू बनाओ. Why that? Because it's so pure, clean, simple, and you want to check the foundation and the essence of a person.
Yeah, so anytime, and it's a rule. Anytime any chef comes to me, they know कि इनको trial में मेरे को सिर्फ दाल तड़का और जीरा आलू बनाना. They come prepared with 150 dishes. ये French, Indian. I think दो चीजें समझ में आती हैं. आप धीरे-धीरे जैसे आप लाइफ में उम्र दराज होते हैं, आप समझ में, you realize the importance of simplicity. You realize that probably 90% of the things that you felt were important weren't really important when you were 25. That is one part. That's where I am currently. I believe the simpler food is the most powerful. Two, I also believe that it's very difficult to fool the consumer with 3 ingredients. It's very easy to fool the consumer with 25 ingredients का कुछ लाके रख दिया, बोला कि 24 घंटे पका है, इसमें 6 तड़के लगे हुए हैं, 26 मसाले हैं, But when you say ये boiled आलू है, ये जीरा है, ये नमक है, ये 5 ingredient है, तड़का लगा के दिखाओ. There's nothing to hide. It's all bare. Your technique, your experience, your relationship with food is all out there in front of you. And that is why also, I think the idea is to give a message to the younger chefs also, to that it's not, eventually when you are my age, you'll realize that this is essentially what food is about. It is not. It's not about putting those 50 things on a plate or kutub minar bana ke, impress karna nahi hai kisi ko. Dil ko chuna hai. It's not about the wows, because wows, when you see something or that wow that comes, probably is just only lasts till the next wow. It's about touching somebody's heart, because that's forever.
Sana, can I hear you? Yeah.
You spoke about touching hearts. We are going to show you your heart. Show you a little clip. We're going to show you your heart.
That's healthy. How lovely.
Bless him. Bless him. That's your heart. पर मैं आपको यहाँ पे एक और बात पूछने वाली हूँ. When you become a parent, it's very important to keep a watch on your own personal journey. पहले की जर्नी से बहुत कुछ सीख के you move forward, because it's a very sacred responsibility being a parent. So आप अपनी प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में से कैसे लेसन्स ड्रॉ करते हैं which you would like to pass on to your child?
So I'm to say that I'm sort of, it comes to me naturally, it doesn't. I still struggle, finding, I always wish I had more time with Ishan. And I'm very grateful in a way, in a positive sort of way that pandemic happened, because I got to spend the kind of time that I got to spend. But I think what cooking also teaches you, like kitchen lessons are life lessons, but cooking also teaches you is that it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. That's what I've sort of learned. The time that I spend with Ishan, it's not about how much time I'm getting to spend with him, but it's about the quality of the time. What are we doing? How much are we sort of putting in our bags to remember 5 or 10 or 15 years later? To say that, hey, remember, we did this or we did that. I think that's the only headspace that I'm to. Can I be a, better father? Absolutely. I think, with all due respect, if I would become a half a good father as I'm a chef, I'd be a very, very, very happy person. But I always have the excuse saying, खाने ना था हम रिश्ता 26-27 साल दा हो गया ना 28 दा और मुंडे ना हजे 7 दा है हौली करूगा वो. But it is, you're right, and I think I try and spend whatever time, and I make sure it's quality, generating memories, like good quality food which generates memories that you keep forever.
How does the sun take your hold on to your question, Saina? How does your son take to you, daddy making the best delicious meal for him? Does he? Or he says, no, I want my mommy's food, not daddy's food. Does he say that?
Yeah. He basically, he's now at that age where he can go brag to his friends about his dad's skills. But when he comes home, he will only eat junk. My job is to sort of de-junk the junk. That's basically my entire, मेरी जिंदगी का जो सारी जिंदगी की पढ़ाई है और प्रोफेशनल लाइफ है वो सिर्फ de-junking the junk में हो रही है. How to de-junk the junk for him. That's what it's boiled down. Boiled down.
How do you explain to him? How?
I think it's very. We have a lot of examples around. It's much easier explaining through examples. Friends of his who are active. You know, internet fortunately helps explaining kids. Benefits of eating greens and stuff like that. So, and they are very savvy with the digital medium. So like I might take a half an hour explaining it to him. He just might speak to Alexa and listen, and it's like, yeah, okay, I got it. It's a different generation.
And listening to his mother?
He obviously listens more to any. I think Pallavi's had a very um, logical Mumbai sort of an upbringing. She talks logic. She talks to him like an adult. Our upbringing was very pendu. Oh, it's how it. Chal chali line chaliye. You know, so so Pallavi gets the benefit of having a nice urban logical upbringing, and I still am. Oh, it's sona nahi? And that is how we show love in Punjab.
You are such a pure Punjabi like me. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਚੜਦਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਡਮ ਨੂੰ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਚੜੇਗਾ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਬੋਲੇਗੀ। That's what used to happen in my life. And I think we Punjabis have this habit that when we are comfortable with ourselves, then we break into our own language. It's a fact. बड़ा मजा आता है। Saina is half Punjabi, half Delhiite. So Saina, what about your Punjabi?
I'm half Punjabi and half Zoroastrian. So for me, it's a blend of both. And for me, I think it's all Ma's Kripa that I do share a special bond with food, and I've been able to pick up the Zoroastrian food, and it's very similar. Punjabi food and Zoroastrian food is very, very similar in certain ways. They both need that raj ke, you have to put everything.
Generosity.
Yes, raj ke dalo. And दोनों में आपको patience के साथ भुनना है, and you have to get to the right color. And जब तक वो रज के खुशबू ना आ जाए तब तक you have to be there. So for me, yes, and a lot of it also comes from my BG, from my Abu, from my daddy's mummy.
Grandmother.
Yes, उधर घर में नारंगी का पेड़ होता था, तो बीजी वो नारंगियां तोड़ के उसका स्क्वॉश बना देते थे फटाफट, बादाम कूटे और शरबत बन गया। आलू लिए, टमाटर लिए, and in 5 minutes आलू की रस्सा रेडी, and गरम गरम उन्होंने पूड़ियां तल दी। So I used to watch that. And Zoroastrian food is also very similar in that way. It needs that ras, it needs that love, raj ke tusi pao. So that's, for me, that's food. Before we
like that, no? Are like sorceresses of the kitchen. I always say that. They have this old, like my grandmom had this frail old look, and the kitchen was time, Pendada kitchen, it was like a dark kitchen with a githi inside and a jali, no fridge, no gas. And all the grandmothers need to hear is ke poklaki bas. And in 5 minutes they will go into their pitara and do something and come out. And it's like, I think that's the first interaction, the magic of food. That magic of food is the first lesson that grandmoms give us.
I would put our daughter would go to school, and I would put a different pronti in her tiffin every day. Gobi pronti, paneer every day. So one day she came back and she told me, I am also a Zoroastrian. I'm also a Zoroastrian. So every day she would get a different pronti, and I would call it a pronti. Churi, garam churi, chini dal ke, and different prontis would go in her tiffin. And then she came back and told me, I'm also a Zoroastrian. So change the tiffin. I see. Yes. Then the different tiffins happened. Before we spoke about Pallavi. Pallavi is going to join us, but before she joins, Hanji.
She's challe only.
Hanji.
Hello.
So Pallavi is a Punjabi or a Maharashtrian?
He's a Maharashtrian.
Acha.
हाँ जी.
And
पंजाबी तो पूरी बोल लेती है, पूरी समझ लेती है, पूरी ट्रेनिंग देती है.
she doesn't have a choice, because when you are at your normal self, then you will speak Punjabi. You break
Yes,
into Punjabi.
at home we've always had this culture of speaking in Punjabi.
Lovely. It's the mother tongue.
हाँ जी. He's right here.
Aajo ji, aajo.
Let's hear Pallavi.
Very welcome. Very welcome. Lots
Great to
of
see
love.
you, Pallavi.
So Pallavi ko, my mom has given her a message to pass on to Miss Bedi. I think मैं कर देना और pass on. So my mom has said that that her generation of women, which is उन्होंने ननाना उस time, पर उनकी ननद और वो they wouldn't have been where they are if it were not for you. That entire generation of women had looked up to you and got the courage to do something different.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, I had to say it. Pallavi ਨੂੰ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਆ ਗਿਆ, ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਾ ਮੰਮੀ ਜੀ ਵੇਖਣਗੇ, ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ.
My mom was a young and she used to always tell me, Pallavi, ye dekh. She was like South Indian, but like was a huge fan. I wish she was here.
Where is she?
She passed away long back.
Oh. Anyway, thank you so much for being so generous and reminding me of this. Thank you so much. Very most grateful to you.
Thank you.
So you had a South Indian mom. You're a South Indian, is it? Or you're Maharashtrian?
My mom said like she's Telugu, but my dad is a Maharashtrian.
Acha, so great combination. Telugu and Maharashtra. So you got 3 languages. You got now 4 or 5 languages then. You got Punjabi, you got Hindi, you got English, Marathi, and Telugu. Huh? 5 languages.
I become pro. I totally understand Punjabi. All thanks to my mother.
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਪਿੰਡੋਂ ਵੀ ਫੋਨ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਫੋਨ ਚੱਕ ਲੈਂਦੀ, ਐਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮਤਲਬ she doesn't care anymore. ਪਿੰਡੋਂ ਵੀ ਫੋਨ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਚੱਕ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਐਨ ਪਿੰਡੂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ.
ਮੌਜਾ
ਸਮਝ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਟੁੱਟੇ ਸਮਝ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ.
ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ I'm with my normal self, then I break into Punjabi. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੀ because it's a mother tongue, no? It comes from inside. Yeah. Comes from inside. Which is the language which comes naturally from you? Which is the one which you love? You're with your normal self. Which is the language?
I guess Marathi, because I was very close to my dad, so it's Marathi. Yes.
And does your boy know Marathi also?
He understands that.
And your son?
It's compulsory for him.
Oh yes, of course. Oh yeah. That's good. I'm so glad that a young boy, son like this is becoming multilingual now. I think it's very good for him.
Yeah.
It opens up the whole country for him so naturally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Saina, yours. You call Pallavi. That's my daughter, Pallavi. Saina. Yeah.
Hello. Pallavi, वो लिखते वो मुसाफिर हैं और सूफी हैं. आप कैसे संभालते हैं?
I am very grateful. I'm totally lucky to have him in my life. Well, I'm also a chef, and he is a senior chef. So मेरी तो lottery लग गई है. No, I grown up with him, like.
Yeah, no, we've professionally we worked together, and we started off. We were remembering how we started off. Sometimes when she visits the place where we opened our first account, so we've grown together professionally, and that brings us a lot of joy. Even now, we were working, so she was doing something thalle, and I called her up. So she was holding fort while I was here talking.
Lovely.
So, so that the professional journey that we've taken together is very gratifying. It's almost, even if you don't want, you're forced to look back and sort of smile, saying, "Yeah, I mean, what a journey we've come a fair bit." Or more than celebrating it, it is just those quiet moments. जिन्होंने कल कहती है वो बैंक वाली मिली सी मैंने कहती ना कि you know, yeah, ma'am, so much has changed, and then I realized that so much has changed in the last 8 years. That I think that is beautiful. That's
were you working together when you met? Were you working together? Lovely.
So so I actually joined a hotel, and she quit the same day. So I was her boss's boss. So and I was like, who is this person who was just waiting for me to join? To put in a resignation. That's how we connected, and then we stayed in touch.
No, but she resigned. How did you trace her back? Did you get her back?
मैं क्या रेजिग्नेशन मतलब मेरा वेट ही कर की गल है हो की गया.
Then फिर क्यों है?
फिर no, she had a problem in the family, and we.
So you got back. See, there was a reason for her to get back then.
But I'm lucky.
Ma bless your togetherness. Ma bless your togetherness, and this love and this bond reflects in all that he does.
That's right.
This love reflects in all that he's doing.
See, Ranveer da kam langar to shuru hoya from a 4-year-old boy. ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਮਿਹਰ ਹੈ. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬੁਲਾਇਆ? ਇਹਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਹੀ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਹੈ. ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਲਿੱਤੇ ਹੈ. He got it from there. I think it's amazing, and the best is that he's expressing and living with this divine connectivity, that humility with which he's expressing himself. He is attributing this to that divine thread which continues, and that's what brought you also together, the divine thread of marriage. Yes, Aina? So can we say thank you to them for their time together?
We have, yes, Pallavi, you need to go. Yes.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. You don't need to hold them back because they are busy.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਯਾਦ ਆ ਗਈ, ਮੈਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਭੁੱਲ ਜੂਗੀ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੰਦਾ. you can use it for you see ਕਿ ਨਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਸੀ. So I was recently at a seminar. Very an Austrian guy was running it. And he said, what's your mother tongue? So, and we Indians, we thought ki pata hona hai with a Hindi. He's like, no, not Hindi. Like, what's your mother tongue? He's like, Hindi. He's like, if I slap you, what language are you going to abuse me in? They say, so then everybody got it immediately. So that the definition of mother tongue is, gussa aunda to kide ch bolde.
We hold on to that.
Sorry, Saina, I had to say that.
No. We hold on to that thought because we're going to show you a surprise video, and then we're going to talk about it. So we show you.
No, then let him go because he has work to do. You show him surprise and let him go now, Saina, because he has work to do.
I think, Ranveer, you can spare time till 6 o'clock with us.
Hanji, 7 minutes.
Hanji? Okay. 7 minutes. We take 7 minutes more from you. अच्छा जी, आपको वीडियो दिखाते हैं.
भाई सत श्री अकाल, किद्दां ठीक ठाक भाजी? देख ला टाइम फ्लाइंग टू मच ते आपां 2007 ਵਿੱਚ ਬੋਸਟਨ ਮਿਲੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਆਏ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਲੈਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਿਆ. ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਬਾਰਟੈਂਡਰ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਸਰਵਰ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਰਣਵੀਰ ਆ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪੁੱਛ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚਲ ਗਿਆ, ਨੰਬਰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਲਿਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਬੀਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਰਣਵੀਰ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ. ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ੈਫ ਰਣਵੀਰ ਬਰਾੜ ਇੰਡੀਆ, ਸੌਰੀ ਆਈ ਮੇਕ ਮਿਸਟੇਕ, ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਲੈ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ. आई कॉल भाजी तू आ गया, सिविल कॉल की आ गया मेरे को, राइट? तो एनीवे तो उस दिन तो ला के मेरे दिल च इन्ना बस गए हैं भी अपने साथ भरावां दे पै गए भी ऑलवे तुसीं मैनूं वड्डा भरा समझिया, मैं ऑलवे छोटा भरा समझिया. फिर लाइक सारी फैमिली इन्ना लव करदी तुहानूं, मीन लार है ना, तो वी लव यू सो मच. एनीवे तो तुहाडे एक सीकर रखी छोटी जी, जदों आपां गुरुद्वारे अखंड पाठ कराया सी ते जलेबियां बनाईयां सी. तो जलेबियां दे तुसीं दस्सिया भी बैटर बनाना भी 24 आवर बिफोर यू मेक है ना, तो मैनूं चेता भुल गया तो मैं लास्ट सैकेंड ते लाइक घंटा 1.5 घंटा गला मिक्स किया तो फिर तुसीं ते जसवंत लाडी बनाउण लग पए ते मैनूं भाई तू घर चल, मैं घर चले गया. तो तुसीं जो भाजी ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਘਰ ਜਾਓ, ਮੈਂ ਲਰਨਿੰਗ ਬਣਾ ਲੈਣੀ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ ਉਹ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਲੀਆਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਗਾੜੀਆਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਰਾਤ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਈ। ਤੇ ਜਲੇਬੀਆਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਬਣੀਆਂ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਲਾਈਕ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, ਬਹੁਤ ਐਪਰੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ। ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਦਿਨ ਆਇਆ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭੋਗ ਪਏ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ, ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸਵੰਦ ਕਿਤੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਘਰ ਸੁੱਤਾ ਪਿਆ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਰਾਤ ਦੇ ਜਲੇਬੀਆਂ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ। ਐਨੀਵੇ ਭਾਜੀ, all Boston love you, everybody missed you, we love you with a heart, all family, please come back to Boston soon, all people looking for you in Boston, thank you.
मजा आ गया।
ग्रेट वेल विशर ऑफ योर्स, आप थोड़ा सा बताएं इनके बारे में and leave us with a little message that how can youngsters also move forward, handle success and grow.
So Shingara Baji na is he's the most selfless person I know. He's the most selfless person I know. You know? There are kind of people who wouldn't have problem sharing. The kind of people who are, you know, happy to share. He's the kind of person who will share because that's why he lives to share. It's the only thing that gives him energy. Giving is the only thing that gives him energy. You know, and I've yet to meet a person like that. And हाँ चंगा कितना ने दास्ता मेरी सारी रात जलेबियां बच्चे खराब वो गुरुद्वारे से लंगर थी next day. So I used to cook in the Gurdwara sometimes in Boston. ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾ ਜਲੇਬੀਆਂ ਬਣਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਜਲੇਬੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੰਭਲੀ ਸਾਟੋਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੈਟਰ ਟਾਈਮ ਸੇ ਲਾਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ ਸੰਭਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਲੇਬੀ, ਇਟ ਵਾਜ਼ਨਟ ਸੈਟਿੰਗ। ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੱਗੇ ਰਹੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਜਲੇਬੀਆਂ ਬਣਾਉਣ। ਗੁਰਪੁਰਬ ਸੀ next day. So but in terms of leaving everybody or young chefs with life lessons, I think the only thing that I sort of feel about the space today is that, you know, we live in a very result first world. You know, like you're seeing a result, everybody's celebrating the result. Journeys don't get celebrated because they are painful and sometimes boring. Products get celebrated, process doesn't get celebrated. So you know, and we are living in a world where getting the answers is way easier. It's about typing it on Google, or you know, you don't have to struggle for answers anymore. However, you still need to respect the process. You still need to you know, it's like reading a mystery novel na. Akhirle page pad liya ke murder kine kita doesn't mean you've read the novel. You know, you have to read the novel to get to how to the last page. And you might be able to read it faster because of technology today, but you still have to read it. And that's my only two bits to today's chefs or people who want to be chefs, young kids who want to be chefs. Is I came in front of the television after 19 years of cooking. Before that, you didn't know me. Before that, I was getting groomed for maybe this, maybe something else, I don't know. But what you see is an end result of a really long process. You know, so if you want to be like this person, be ready to enjoy the journey also. You know, and it's just at a time, you know, when I grew up, knowledge was lacking because access was limited. You know, library you had to ask. Today, there's enough information, right? What lacks is the wisdom as to what information do you use, what do you keep, what do you search for. It's not about Google has it all. It's about what you type in Google, the wisdom to type and find the right answer. And I think tomorrow's world, our world, was running after information. Tomorrow's world is going to run after wisdom. Be wise and trust the process. That's all.
You're a very wise young man, Ranveer. You're a very wise young man. Bhagwan tere bahut pala kare, bahut aashirwad hai. You made us all proud. I'm so happy to hear what you said. Every word of what you said is such a precious word. मजा आ गया मैनू आज तेरे नाल प्रोग्राम करके, बहुत मजा आया.
I'm just following.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. पूरा साडा आशीर्वाद गुरु दा तेरे ते कृपा रहे हमेशा. Thank you so much, Ranveer.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for joining
and sharing.
Thank you so much. Bless you. बहुत blessings. Thank you.
जी जी, थैंक यू जी। हमारा ये बातचीत का सेशन यहीं पूरा होता है। यू कांट स्किप द प्रोसेस।
That's
तो
beautiful.
सब्र के साथ, मेहनत के साथ आगे बढ़ते जाइए।
Very beautiful.
और हम आपको मिलेंगे अगले महीने एक और बातचीत के साथ। और अगले महीने हमारे गेस्ट होंगे मिस्टर बमन ईरानी। So we look forward to having him with us and sharing his thoughts
Excellent.
and inspiring us. मिलेंगे अगले महीने आपको।
Thank you.
जय धारी माँ, हमारी ऑडियंसेस का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। जय धारी माँ जी।